Hello guys, in this video we will discuss on OSI model which is a base of computer networking. After watching this session, you will be able to express what is OSI model and you will develop a basic understanding of computer networking on the basis of OSI model. Now guys, look at this figure. These are the different vendor devices. Here, this is devices of Microsoft, this is another, suppose this is Dell. Now, these devices can communicate each other. They can communicate each other, but they do not communicate with each other. Why? This was the reason. Now, one organization, ISO, develop and sort out this problem so that they can communicate with each other. They can communicate with each other. Here they cannot communicate with each other, but ISO in 1970 developed a approach which is OSI reference model. After this OSI model, different vendor can communicate with each other. So this is a revolution. Here OSI stands for Open System Interconnection. This ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization. Now guys, here what we understand about OSI model. First, OSI model was created to break barrier between different vendors. It was the first point. That means break barriers. Barriers, that means bottlenecks. It was the first point. Second point was that it is a conceptual blueprint. It is a reference model. So it is a conceptual blueprint. Blueprint, that means it will be useful and this will be used on the basis of reference. Clear? Now, third point is it divides the network communication process into smaller and simpler components. Now, look at this. We divided this in 7 layers. First one is layer 7, which is application layer. This layer comes under upper layer. This is comes under heart layer, and this is lower layer. Now, as you know, each layer performs a specific function in the communication process. Here we have this data. Suppose this is a data, and here data is possessed. Now this data will go any other place, but this will follow these 7 steps. Without these steps, this cannot go. That means we cannot jump this data to this layer. It is mandatory to follow these steps. So any vendors, any devices want to communicate, then it should follow these 7 steps rules. So this OSI model is just as a set of rules which provides direction. How can you communicate? If you want to communicate, follow these type of instruction. So these are the ladders, these are the stairs, these are the steps. So in networking language, we can say these are the layers. So this is layer 7, this is layer 1. So in the same way, layer 6, layer 5, layer 4, layer 3, layer 2. Clear? Now guys, here these devices are different vendors and they want to communicate with each other. Clear? Now they follow these type of rules, these type of steps. If these devices follow this type of steps, then this device can communicate with this device number 1, this device number 2, and they want to communicate with each other. So they follow this type of rules, set of rules. And which provides this type of rules? OSI model. So because this rules is a conceptual blueprint, so follow these rules on the basis of conceptual blueprint. Now they can communicate with each other. And in communication, what they do at application layer, do you know? You are familiar with this because it is directly connected to the user. It is directly connected to the user, so we can say it is a user interface. It is just like as a user interface. That means this layer provides a user interface. Clear? Now if there are many applications available in your devices, these devices, suppose if Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, delete this, remove this, then you cannot communicate because there is a services. If you want to transfer the file, then you needs FTP. Clear? Now if you want to access the web page, then you need to HTTP. So these type of services is available. So this platform, this layer provides these type of services: file transfer, web page, browsing, remote access, telnet, DNS services, DSCP services. There are many services which is available on your application layer. Now guys, what is a presentation layer? Name gives the information. Presentation means represent the data, represent your raw data. Here data is, suppose that data is just as a file. Now here file be represented, formatted. That means present the shape of the data. Now you create shape, that means you encrypt the data. Here you encrypt the data. Matlab, that means you are encrypting and you are decrypting the data. Now why we are encrypting? Because suppose there is a big format and we do not understand. Now computer understand own language, so sometimes if you do not cover the data, many person can conceal your, can take your information, can take your data. So we need encryption and we need decryption to open this. Now if we are encrypting, if we are able to encrypt, that means we are able to encode and decode. Now, at session layer, what do you understand? Here, suppose you are browsing and there are many web pages opens. Now, this creates sessions. This create session, a separate different application. That means it is just as a segregation. That means it data separate. Clear? Data separate. Now comes at the point transport layer. What it is the heart of the OSI model. Here, this, if you want to connection is reliable or not, here decided. Unreliable. Now that means it correct the data. If there is error happens, then it before retransmitting it correct that data. So error detection and correction. So this layer is very helpful because it provides reliability for your data. Now comes at network layer. This we cannot go any other places without addressing. So we need a logical addressing. We need a logical addressing because computer understand only logical value. Clear? That means it provide this layer provide path. Provide path. How can you go? How can you go? That means it provide best path. There are many paths to go at this place, but we need best path. We will choose best path on the basis of network layer because here router devices work, which decides where we should go and which path we should follow. Now come at the point data link layer. What do you think? This layer combines packets into frames. Here packet works, so here frames. This combines packet into frames. So we framing here. Now here error at transport error detection and correction, but here one thing happens only, error detection. We cannot correct the data. With the help of some rules. Now comes at the point first layer, which is physical layer. Here bit, voltage, cables, there are many things existed at physical layer. Name stands the information. Now physical layer, that means what where we can touch. So cables, we can touch the cables, we can touch the devices. So at physical layer we this type of this converts frames into bits, bits into bytes. Clear? This things happens at this layer. So this is a just like a electrical signals. Clear? Electrical signals. Now what do you think about these layers? We will tell you a detail. Now here data comes at this here. This device want to access this device, want to communicate this device, so it generates a data. First it generates a data at which layer? Application. Data is generated. That data is known as PDU, protocol data unit. Here protocol data unit encrypted, so we encrypt the data. Now we decide the time at which time this will be open. Suppose that there are 3 browsers. You are working on the browsers, and suppose you are accessing your internet banking, then what will happen? After 5 minutes, this web page, this site will be log out. Clear? So this decides at which time you can separate your data. Suppose you are opening more browsers. Suppose you are opening Facebook, Outlook, Gmail. It decides that it separate the data. It separate the browser, separate the session. Clear? So here data never changes. Clear? So TCP/IP model always say this is a application layer. Now at this point, here data is direct come here. Data is direct come here. This is PDU. Now data is segmented in many parts. That means we divided the data in many parts. Here segment, here segment. We segment the data. Now data is known as sometimes segment, sometimes segment. Clear? Now these segments come at this layer, and this segment is known as packet. This segment is known as packet. Sometimes datagram. Here also, because at this layer mainly two protocol works, TCP and UDP, and full form of user datagram protocol. So sometimes we use a datagram. Now this packet comes at this layer and is known as frame. Now guys, this packet is break into frames, and now frames breaks into bits. Clear? Now here at every layer, at each layer there are protocols work. Because this transport layer hand over the segment to network layer, and this packet is hand over to data link layer with the help of protocol, and that protocol is known as IP protocol. Here protocol which is Ethernet. Now here application layer, presentation and session layer. There are many things available in this session. Now we will talk about every layer separately in upcoming videos in a detailed manner, which is very useful to understand. Now if you want to correlate, now in this session we will not more than, but we will provide a basic understanding about each layer. Now first come at application layer. What do you understand? It is responsible to provide the interface between the end user and network. Clear? Now when you access the web page, when you try to communicate with each other, then first you use application. So this layer is directly connected with users. This layer is directly connected with users. So it is the platform, it is the framework where this layer provide the interface between the end user and the network. So it is just an interface between end user and network. Now, which type of features, which type of function existed at this layer? Sometimes services. Which type of services? Application services. Which type of application services? FTP, such that file transfer protocol, file transfer services. TFTP, this is not secure. And email services such as SMTP and POP. Now, that means it support to communicate with other devices. That means your devices has the functionality of FTP, and that means both devices, if both devices has the functionality of FTP, then can transfer the files. Otherwise they cannot transfer the files. So there are many protocols work here. One is telnet, which is used to remote access. Now DNS, domain name service, that means it is used to convert domain name into IP. Now DSCP, most important protocol used to assign IP many devices dynamically. So it is dynamic host communication protocol. Now HTTP and HTTPS as well. Now come at the point presentation layer. What do you understand presentation layer? First point, I have explained about this, but this layer is responsible for the representation of data. So representation now, what is the functionality of this? What is the function? At this layer we format the data, we serialize the data. So data formatting, clear? Encryption, decryption. If we are talking about encryption, then as well as decryption. Now next point is compression. So decompression as well. Now come at the point data translation. So detranslation as well. Now error detection and correction to provide security. Now, at the which type of this layer, which type of protocol works? Now, we use generally Unicode SSL, Unicode SSL, JPEG to convert pictures, MPEG, now come at the point session layer. What do you understand about session layer? This layer is responsible for establishing, maintaining and ending session. So three things works here. First, establish the session. Second point, maintaining and third point, ending. So this is the session layer. Now, what is the functionality of this? How can define functions? How can provide the function of this layer? We can directly say this is a session establishment, session management, and session termination, and data flow control, synchronization and authentication, authorization and restoration. So there are many functionality. We can synchronization, authentication, authorization. Now come at the third point, which is transport layer, and which is the heart of the OSI model. Now, what do you understand about this layer? Here, this layer is responsible for the reliable and efficient delivery of data between applications. So, this layer is responsible for reliable and efficient delivery. Reliable and efficient delivery. Now, what is the functionality? Which protocol works here? One most important, TCP, UDP, and HTTP. Now, what is the functionality of this layer? First one is segmentation, because it is the features of. Second one is end-to-end delivery. Now, third point is error detection and error correction. Now, flow control. Now guys, at this layer we are using many functionality, which is also the functionality of different protocols, because if you read TCP header, UDP header and IP header, then you will be able to explain this layer in detail. Now, this is the only overview to understand, to explain and explore the things. Flow control. Flow control is a buffering, now multiplexing and demultiplexing. Now, come at the next point, which is a network layer. What do you understand about this? This layer is responsible for the routing and forwarding data across the network into end users. Clear? So, for routing and forwarding the data across the network. Now, so it is the functionality as well. Now, first point, if you talk about functionality, then that is routing. Forwarding, packet switching, packet switching. Now, addressing, which type addressing? Logical addressing. Now, congestion control. Now, come at the point, data link layer. Now, if you talk about the protocol, which type of protocol works here? There are many protocols we use generally. First main one is IP, Internet Protocol. Second one is RARP, Address Resolution Protocol. NDP, IPsec as well. IGMP, now ICMP as well. IGMP. So this type of protocol works here. Now, if you talk about data link layer, what do you think? Data link layer. It is responsible for the physical transmission of data over the network. Physical transmission, that means hop to hop. Every nodes in your network, it will pass through. So, physical transmission. It is responsible for physical transmission. Now, what is the functionality of this layer? This is framing. First is framing. Convert packets into frame. Error detection. Not correction. Error detection. Flow control. Addressing, here MAC addressing work here. Now, which type of protocol works here? Now, first MAC. Second one is frame relay. Now third one is ARP also work here because ARP is such a 2.5, so ARP as well work here. Now Ethernet, now STP, RSTP, PVST, PVST plus, this type of protocol is used for to avoid loops. Now come at the physical layer. What do you understand about this? This layer is responsible for the physical electrical transmission over the network. So physical electrical transmission. Now come at the point. Transmission of data signals. Function of it, transmission of data signals and physical connections in encoding, decoding signals, data rates, physical topology. There are many things available here. So one functionality is physical topology. Now, which type of protocol? If we talk about protocol, then Wi-Fi, RJ, Bluetooth, fiber channel, there are many things. Clear? Now, this is the whole OSI model where we define the OSI model and the introduction part, history of the OSI model, and we define each layer as a, we can say it is not enough, but it is a depth approach. Now I think you are able to define and you are able to explore this model very accurately. Now guys, we will meet you with a new approach of this model and we will provide a new theory. So wait and watch for upcoming videos. Thank you guys.